Good morning. So I have not been keeping up with the news lately as much as I tend to because we've been rather busy at St. Simon's over the past couple of weeks. But last night I began to look at the recent news of the shooting at the mosques in New Zealand. And in case you haven't heard about it, 2 days ago, a man who calls himself a white nationalist entered into 2 mosques and began shooting. He did this on a Friday, which is usually the day that Muslims come to the mosque to pray together as a congregation. And I spent a lot of time last night looking at the images of these 2 mosques. And I see people mourning, pictures of people mourning their loved ones, people on their cell phones, people sitting with their heads in their hands, just crying. And the people in these pictures are not wearing shoes because the mosque is holy ground that had been violated. But there was one picture in particular that truly caught my attention. And one of them, it was a piece of gauze that was on the ground, and it was full of blood, and it was surrounded by casings of the bullets. Now, you may not know this, but I spent several years working in the ER as a physician. And people would come in, of course, being harmed or having major trauma. And the scene would be this orchestrated sort of chaos, all in the desire to save a life. And in all that activity, you would look around and there would be blood on the floor. And so a bloody piece of gauze for me in this picture had a different meaning, a meaning in the sense that we are all the same. And this is hugely significant to me because I have to confess that as a queer person of color, I often have my guard up because sometimes I just don't know how someone is going to react or what someone is going to say. And there are days when I feel very reserved in the love and service that I want to provide to people who don't accept me for who I am for one reason or another. But while all these things can be painful or even incite violence, in the end, in the core of who we are, that extra stuff really just doesn't matter very much. That no matter what we look like, who we think God is, or who we love, or how old we are all the same. That in this lifetime we all love, we all suffer, we all have joy, and one day we all will die. Excuse me. What does matter is the decision that we make to love and to be loved. It's the decision we make to care about people we may or may not know, no matter where they're from. It's more than something we feel, and it's not something that happens from a distance, no matter what country you come from, or what religion you are, or who you love, or what you believe. And I believe that is why Jesus basically said to Herod in today's gospel, yeah, whatever you bleep, I'm busy. And all of Herod's planning and plotting to kill him, and Jesus is just like, yeah, whatever. I've got stuff to do. Because Jesus is busy. He's casting out demons and healing people. Because clearly there's just no time to waste. In Spanish and in Italian, there's this word that you say when you've absolutely determined that you're going to do something, no matter what the consequences are. And that word is basta. Have you ever heard that? And you have to do the hand thing too. Basta. I will do what it is that needs to be done. It's a word of passion and determination, and one that says, yeah, that's enough talk, I'm busy, let's do this. Enough said, mic drop. right? In today's gospel, I see Jesus saying basta, or whatever the Jewish version of that may be, which might be like feh, or something like that. I don't know. Let me know later if you do. But Jesus is digging his heels in. His work is to be with us. And this is a scary time for Jesus and his disciples. All these things are happening around them, and Jesus has made many enemies. And even the Pharisees are telling him to be careful, and they don't even like Jesus. So when you tell people of power that they really don't have any, they're going to be angry at you. When you threaten to subvert a whole system of transaction that labels a person a sinner or a saint or clean or unclean or black or white or whatever, the people in charge are going to come after you. And this all seems kind of reckless, doesn't it? I mean, especially if you're the type who plans carefully in detail, kind of leveraging your risk. And maybe Jesus should have just kind of cooled it for a bit, kind of hung out, drank some wine, chilled out. But no, he's in a hurry. He's passionate in his basta, right? He's in a hurry to keep doing the work that God sent him to say and to do. And he came here to tell us that the truth is that God desires to gather us together in relationship with God's self and one another in love. And Jesus came to remind us that we are the beloved of God, that no matter where we are from, what we look like, who we love, how old we are, etc., etc., etc. To live like this and to act like this in this way of love is to live in the hope and abundance of the kingdom of God. It's to tell the truth in a place and a space where it might not be welcome, where the timing might not be right. It might be saying things that people don't like to hear, but it is really to live like Jesus did. It is what our baptism calls us to do, and it is what our being together, making Eucharist, makes present. Because in this journey, in this life, we journey on together, even as we make our way through the wilderness, sometimes seemingly lost, but we engage with grace and intention what comes before us. And along the way, there will be times that we mourn, whether it is the transition of a beloved rector or some other loss or change that happens in our lives or to the people we love. And even as we walk, we set our sights to move forward, even if things are not always abundantly clear, trusting in God and the beloved friends around us. And as we continue to engage with one another and with God in this intentional way, without fear, the way will become clearer, and we return again and again to set our hearts to love God and our neighbor. We walk the path, sometimes making the path as we go along, but it is a setting of our sights to do what is there and what is real, that we walk as beloved of God. Basta.